Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a story of division, struggle, and eventual unity. We're talking about the Berlin Wall, and more importantly, how this massive concrete barrier didn't just split a city, it fundamentally changed the world. So, let's set the scene. It's post-World War II. Germany is defeated and divided among the Allied powers, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the Soviet Union. Berlin, the capital, is located deep inside the Soviet zone, but it's also divided into 4 sectors. This created a very strange situation, a little island of Western democracy and capitalism right in the middle of communist East Germany. For the first 15 years after the war, Berliners could move pretty freely between the sectors. People had jobs, family, and friends on both sides. But there was a huge problem for the East German government. Their citizens were leaving in droves. Between 1949 and 1961, nearly 3 million people fled from East to West Germany, most of them through the open border in Berlin. These weren't just random people, they were often the most skilled and educated doctors, engineers, teachers. This brain drain was crippling the East German economy and was a massive propaganda blow to the communist bloc. They had to stop the bleeding. And then, it happened. In the dead of night, on August 13, 1961, East German soldiers and workers began to tear up streets and erect barbed wire fences. Families were separated overnight. The border was sealed. What started as a wire fence quickly morphed into something far more formidable, a concrete wall, nearly 100 miles long, complete with guard towers, anti-vehicle trenches, and a terrifying death strip filled with sand, tripwires, and floodlights. The Berlin Wall was born. Now, let's talk about the immediate impact. The wall became the most potent and chilling symbol of the Cold War. It was the physical manifestation of the Iron Curtain that Winston Churchill had spoken of years earlier. For the people of Berlin, it was a daily, brutal reality. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing you might never see your relatives who live just a few streets away ever again. The emotional and psychological toll was immense. The wall wasn't just a symbol, though. It fundamentally changed the geopolitical landscape. For the West, particularly the United States, it was a stark demonstration of communist oppression. President John F. Kennedy famously visited Berlin in 1963 and declared, "Ich bin ein Berliner," I am a Berliner. This speech was a powerful statement of solidarity with the people of West Berlin and a clear message to the Soviet Union. The West would not abandon the city. This cemented Berlin's status as a critical flashpoint in the Cold War. Any move on Berlin could trigger a full-blown war between the superpowers. The existence of the wall also forced a shift in Cold War strategy. Direct military confrontation was too risky. So, the conflict became one of ideology, economics, and propaganda. West Berlin was transformed into a glittering showcase of capitalism. It was heavily subsidized, bustling with culture, freedom, and consumer goods, all in stark contrast to the gray, controlled reality of East Berlin, which you could see right over the wall. This visual and economic battle was fought every single day for nearly 3 decades. But what about the people? Human spirit is a powerful thing, and the wall couldn't crush it. The story of the Berlin Wall is also a story of incredible courage and ingenuity. In the early years, people attempted daring escapes. They jumped from buildings, dug tunnels, and even tried to fly over in homemade hot air balloons. One famous tunnel, Tunnel 57, allowed 57 people to escape before it was discovered. These stories of defiance became legends, fueling hope and keeping the dream of a united Germany alive. Over time, the wall also changed East Germany itself. With the escape route closed, the government had to find other ways to maintain control. They built one of the most pervasive surveillance states in history, the Stasi. They used a vast network of spies and informants to monitor citizens, suppress dissent, and create a climate of fear. Life behind the wall was a life of compromise, of learning what you could and couldn't say. Now, let's fast forward to the 1980s. The Cold War is starting to thaw. The Soviet Union's economy is crumbling under the weight of the arms race. In 1987, another American president, Ronald Reagan, stood at the Brandenburg Gate and delivered an iconic speech demanding, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." This speech echoed around the world and put immense pressure on the Soviet leadership. Change was in the air across Eastern Europe. Poland's solidarity movement, Hungary opening its border with Austria, the cracks in the Iron Curtain were starting to show. East Germans saw this and began to protest, demanding freedom and reforms. These peaceful protests grew larger and larger. The government was in a crisis. And then came the night of November 9, 1989. It happened almost by accident. An East German official, Gunter Schabowski, was giving a rather boring press conference. Near the end, he was handed a note about new travel regulations. When a reporter asked when the new rules would take effect, Schabowski, who hadn't been fully briefed, glanced at his notes and said, "As far as I know." Effective immediately, without delay. The news spread like wildfire. East Berliners couldn't believe what they were hearing. They started gathering at the checkpoints along the wall, demanding to be let through. The border guards were confused. They had no orders. But the crowds grew bigger and bigger, their chants for freedom louder and louder. Faced with an overwhelming and peaceful crowd, the guards finally opened the gates. That night was one of the most incredible moments of the 20th century. People poured through, laughing, crying, and embracing strangers from the other side. People climbed onto the wall, dancing and chipping away at it with hammers and picks. It was a spontaneous, joyous celebration of freedom. The wall, this symbol of division and oppression for 28 years, was finally coming down. The fall of the Berlin Wall didn't just reunite a city. It triggered a chain reaction that changed the world map. It signaled the end of the Cold War. Within a year, Germany was officially reunified. The communist governments across Eastern Europe collapsed one by one. The Soviet Union itself dissolved in 1991. The bipolar world order, dominated by the US and the USSR, was over. The legacy of the wall is complex. It ushered in an era of new possibilities, but also new challenges. It led to the expansion of the European Union and NATO, reshaping the political and economic landscape of Europe. But the process of reunification in Germany itself was long and difficult, with economic and social disparities between East and West that persist in some ways even today. So, the Berlin Wall was more than just concrete and wire. It was a global stage where the great ideological struggle of the 20th century played out. Its construction defined the Cold War, and its fall symbolized its end. It reminds us of the human cost of division, the power of hope, and the incredible, world-changing force of people demanding their freedom. Thanks so much for watching. What do you think is the most important lesson from the story of the Berlin Wall? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. See you next time.